What is it about society that is so frightening of the black man? What is it about society that labels the black woman loud? Why is it that society thinks we have contributed nothing to the advancement of mankind? Why is it so important to control the mind of the black race? Why are lies told about our youths? Why are the Dark Ages not referred to as the Black Renaissance? Why has black history been erased from the record books? I would like to think we're worth more than the label society places on us. I don't even know why I'm here. Society doesn't paint me in the most flattering manner. To them, I should have at least been in prison twice by now, fathered countless children who I don't see, brain dead. Foreign Concept, the unapologetically black podcast.
Must be tough. Smart kid like you. Good family. Good private schools. Always getting passed over despite his superior talents. How do you think that is, Ty? That you keep getting passed over? It's because it's the black man's burden to carry the weight of white privilege. Without the benefits of being rich or white, you'll never be better than second best. Unless, of course, you change the game.
So, how do we change the game? In my humble opinion, and based on the research I have done, the two most effective ways for change to occur involves collective and individual approach a group undertakes. Collectively, we should improve our economic status. When you think about wealth, you automatically think of the Jews and the Arabs. However, figures indicate that black consumers outspend their counterparts.
And you know why that's ironic? Last year, Black America in 2016, we spent $2 billion on Air Jordans, $4 billion on liquor and alcohol, $600 million on fast food, and we bought twice the amount of Mercedes-Benzes as white America, although white America has twice the wealth of black folk.
It's funny because black people outspend them. Can you imagine if this money circulated within our community? Businesses would be thriving. Nevertheless, we can still do that as a New Year's resolution. It's imperative to invest in black-owned businesses, regardless of their reputations. Bite the bullet. Keep going to your local Caribbean shop. Forget the rude customer assumption that is attached with them. If you think about it, staff are rude everywhere. You just don't notice it when you're in Morrison's, you're in Asda. Some members of staff are just rude. For some reason, when it comes to black-owned businesses, we focus on that and we forget that we experience bad customer services everywhere, not just in Caribbean shops.
Alice Poletti, man. Yeah, man.
So it's important to keep on investing in black-owned businesses. Re-educate yourself. The education that most of us learned at school was designed with a purpose. Most of that purpose was to benefit the elites and the upper class. All the great activists of this world have talked about the importance of education. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X. Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow. D'Angelo. Education is what remains after you have forgotten what you learned at school. Albert Einstein. Furthermore, this is the first time in human history that we can effectively communicate with each other at any given time. So it's imperative we create a togetherness.
A lot of people think of trust as what I call predictive trust. which means that you and I have known each other long enough to where if you say this, I know what you really mean. Or if I say this to you, this is probably how you're going to react. Any two people that have known each other for a long period of time can have predictive trust. But that's not what I'm talking about, the kind of trust on a team. What I'm talking about on a team is what we call vulnerability-based trust.
This will enable us to develop the notion of trust. Trust is vital. It brings a sense of unity, which will help us deal with the implications of the divide and conquer tactic that was used against our ancestors. Trust will help to improve our economic status, which will enable us to conduct more charitable events. The problem with the community at the moment, I think, is when someone is trying to raise money, we don't trust them enough with the money that we're giving to them. We think they're going to use that for their own personal use, but that will only come with trust. Trust creates loyalty. Some would say the ultimate way to prove your loyalty to your race is to marry within. I know that sounds controversial, but there are two arguments to that statement.
And so if pro-black does not mean black supremacy, then of course you can date outside the race, because that gives you the most opportunity to educate others.
Who you marry tells me who you are. When you marry a woman, you don't just marry her. You marry her culture, you marry her community, you marry her people.
Shouldn't it be the man fell in love with who he fell in love with?
So when a black man marries a white woman, he's making several clear points and messages he's sending out to his own people. Because there's no greater symbol of your loyalty to your struggle than to marry a sister who shares that struggle.
Dr. Umar Johnson makes a valid point, but in this day and age, people tend to look past skin tone because at the end of the day, deep down, we're all the same. Now, for the individual approach, the first thing we need to recognize is that we all have a part to play in creating social cohesion. I believe we're not free until we're all freed. We need to find a way to close the gap between the rich and the poor, because as things currently stand, the rich are getting richer and the poor are staying poor. To the youths of today, I know nothing, Socrates, but my advice to you is simple. Smart people learn from their own mistakes. Wise people learn from the mistakes of others. Try getting into a habit of saving. Open up a bank account if you don't have one. Put whatever amount you can away, and at the end of the year, that will add up. Learn from the mistakes of others. Seek advice. If you don't know something, ask. Get an internship. Use the skills that you've been developing throughout your life that makes you who you are. If you're funny, use that to your advantage. Perhaps try comedy. Write something funny. Anything to do with the skill that you're natural in, try to develop it. Practice the law of attraction. Picture your success before you sleep. Protect your energy. Make sure you have positive energy around you. Follow your instincts. I believe it's your guidance. Know your worth. Know your history. Now, for the grown-ups, it's never too late to get back to education. I'm not talking about the commercial way of education, where you go back to college or uni, which is fine, but you can also study at home.
Are you a visual learner, an auditory learner, a kinesthetic learner, or a combination of two or all three? Visual learners like to read and are often good spellers. Auditory learners, by contrast, like oral instructions and may find written materials confusing or boring. Kinesthetic learners like to stay on the move. They often find it difficult to sit still for a long time and will often tap their feet and gesticulate a lot while speaking. They tend to learn best by doing rather than observing.
Find out what learning style suits you best. Participate, listen, or read about a topic you don't know much about. Then ask yourself, which method did you prefer learning about? Was it the book you read, the documentary you watched, or the class you attended. Once you find this, use it to learn about a particular subject. Because to be honest with you, you can leave uni with a good degree even if you don't attend classes, which shows you can learn at the comfort of your own home. And perhaps that the education system is outdated. To those stuck on the roads, to the roadman, to those who don't care about education, to those who don't really care about anything, whatever it is that you do to get your money, use those skills and apply it in the business world, because whether you know it or not, you're already a businessman. The same method you use to build your line, networking, communicating, use them to build a successful business. Use that determination that made you get it by any means necessary. You already have the attributes to become successful, just apply it in the real world. It is imperative that we create our own lane. Forget the, if you can't beat them, join them horse manure they're feeding us. We need to stop asking for a seat at the table when we can chill on the sofa at the comfort of our own home.
That's a metaphor.
I said that's a metaphor. It is a metaphor.
Yes, man. Yeah, man.
We need to stop taking what we already have for granted. Use your background as an advantage. If you're bilingual and unemployed, why not consider starting an interpreting business? I know it's easier said than done, but try creating something other people that speak your language will relate and potentially invest in. These are just some of my advice. What do you think? Give me your thoughts on how we can change the game. Because as a people, we need to start taking responsibility for our future. Can you hear him snoring in the background? Yeah, so if you enjoy listening to that, like, subscribe, all of that shenanigans, you know how it goes. Foreign Concept, the unapologetically black podcast.